Helloween is a German power metal band founded in 1984 in Hamburg, northern Germany. The band is a pioneering force in the power metal subgenres, and their second and third studio albums, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 and Part 2, are considered masterpieces of the genre. 12 musicians have been a part of the band's lineup in its history, which has consisted of singer Andi Deris, guitarists Michael Weikath and Sascha Gerstner, bass guitarist Markus Grosskopf, and drummer Daniel Löble since 2005. Helloween was formed in 1984 by members of bands Iron Fist, Gentry, and Powerfool. Its first lineup consisted of Weikath, Grosskopf, singer and guitarist Kai Hansen, and drummer Ingo Schwichtenberg. After the release of a self-titled EP and a first album in 1985, it expanded into a quintet when singer Michael Kiske joined, with Hansen only acting as guitarist. Under this lineup, they released the Keeper of the Seven Keys albums, which established Helloween as a notable heavy metal band and led to the creation of the power metal subgenre. However, Hansen left the band quickly after the release of Part 2 and was replaced by Roland Grapow. He then created the band Gamma Ray. Helloween's first two albums without Hansen, Pink Bubbles Go Ape and Chameleon, were commercial and critical failures, which created tensions between band members and led to the firing of Schwichtenberg and the departure of Kiske. They were replaced by Weikath and Andi Deris respectively. The albums released under this lineup, consisting of Master of the Rings, The Time of the Oath, Better Than Raw and The Dark Ride, received a warm reception from both fans and critics, gradually establishing Helloween as a successful band again. However, tensions following the release of The Dark Ride led to the dismissals of both Grapow and Kush, who then went on to found Masterplan together. Grapow was replaced by Gerstner, but the attempts to find a new drummer were chaotic and no band member was credited for drums on the album Rabbit Don't Come Easy. The band finally found a stable drummer in the person of Löble in 2005. Under this new and current lineup, the longest in its history, the band has released 4 successful studio albums, Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy, Gambling with the Devil, Seven Sinners, and Straight Out of Hell, with all members except Löble contributing to songwriting. Since its creation, Helloween has released 14 studio albums, 3 live albums, 3 EPs, and 27 singles, and has sold more than 5 million records worldwide. History, early years and first album. Helloween formed in 1984 in Hamburg, Germany. The original lineup included Kai Hansen on vocals and guitar, Michael Weikath on guitar, Markus Grosskopf on bass, and Ingo Schwichtenberg on drums. That year, the band signed with Noise Records and recorded 2 songs for a Noise compilation record called Death Metal. The compilation featured the band's Hellhammer, Running Wild, and Dark Avenger. The 2 tracks were A Once of Life by Weikath and Hansen's Metal Invaders, a faster version of which would appear on the band's first full-length album. Helloween recorded and released its first record in 1985, a self-titled EP containing 5 tracks. Also that year, the band released its first full-length album, Walls of Jericho. During the following concert tour, Hansen had difficulties singing and playing the guitar at the same time. Kai's last recording as the band's lead singer was in 1986 on a vinyl EP titled Judas, which contained the song Judas, and live versions of Ride the Sky, and Guardians recorded at Gelsenkirchen. Following these releases, Helloween began the search for a new vocalist. Keeper of the Seven Keys, the band found an 18-year-old vocalist, Michael Kiske, from a local Hamburg band named Ill Prophecy. With their new lead vocalist in tow, Helloween approached record labels Noise International and RCA and proposed the release of a double LP to introduce the new lineup. This proposition was turned down. Instead, they recorded a single LP, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1, which was released in 1987. In 1988, Helloween released Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, the companion album. MTV put the single I Want out into heavy rotation and in support of its Headbangers Ball show. MTV also presented the inaugural Headbangers Ball tour with Helloween joining San Francisco Bay Area thrash metal band Exodus in support of headlining act Anthrax. The band was slotted in the prestigious second spot, right before Anthrax's set. On the heels of this exposure to U.S. audiences, the band achieved worldwide success. Hansen and Kiske's departures. Guitarist Kai Hansen unexpectedly left the band soon after the European leg of the Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2 tour, due to ill health, conflicts within the band, troubles with Noise International, and a growing dissatisfaction with life on tour. He was soon replaced by former Rampage guitarist Roland Grapow, who finished the rest of the tour with the band. In 1989, the band released a live album called Live in the UK, featuring material from its 1988 European tour. The remaining members continued on but ran into label problems with Noise, and after litigation kept them from touring and releasing new material, they were eventually released from their contract. A new album would not appear until 1991 when, after several rumors about the band breaking up, they released Pink Bubbles Go Ape for their new record company, EMI. The album was less heavy and, with song titles such as Heavy Metal Hamsters, I'm Doing Fine, Crazy Man, and Shit and Lobster, showed a shift toward a Euro, and an emphasis on a Euro humor rather than the epic moods on previous releases. As a result, Pink Bubbles Go Ape failed both commercially and critically, and tension started to build amongst the band members. The pop-influenced follow-up Chameleon was released in 1993. Instead of taking a heavier approach, the band ventured into new territory, issuing its signature double guitar harmonies for synthesizers, horns, acoustic guitars, a children's chorus, country music, and swing. As with the previous album, Chameleon failed commercially and critically. Tensions within Helloween worsened, and the band split into three factions, with Michael Kiske and Ingo Schwichtenberg on one side, Michael Weikath and Roland Grapow on the other, and Markus Grosskopf in the middle, trying to keep peace between the four men. Shortly after, the band began to disintegrate. During the Chameleon tour, the band would often play to half-filled venues. Drummer Ingo Schwichtenberg fell ill due to mental and drug-related issues, and was eventually fired, replaced by session drummer Richie Abdelnaby. Meanwhile, the conflicts within the rest of the band worsened, with Michael Weikath refusing to work any longer with Michael Kiske. The decision was made to fire Kiske. Since his firing, Kiske has not spoken positively about Helloween. In May 2008, Kiske released Past in Different Ways, an album featuring most of his old Helloween songs, albeit rearranged and re-recorded acoustically. In addition to the firing of Kiske, Abdelnaby, whose inability to replicate Schwichtenberg's machine gun style of drumming hindered Helloween's ability to play live fan favorites like Eagle Fly Free, and How Many Tears, was let go by the band. 1993 would come to a close for Helloween with no singer, no drummer, and no record contract. First years with Andi Deris, Helloween returned in 1994 with former Pink Cream 69 frontman Andi Deris as their new lead vocalist and Uli Kush, formerly of Kai Hansen's Gamma Ray, on drums. Deris had been approached by Weikath to join the band in 1991, but he had declined, despite being intrigued by the offer and having to deal with emerging conflicts between him and his band. In the years since, however, Kiske was fired from Helloween and the issues within Pink Cream 69 worsened. Faced with the inevitability of his firing, Deris accepted Weikath's offer. Despite not possessing the 4-octave range boasted by Kiske, Deris's vocal similarity to Kai Hansen, his enthusiasm, his strong songwriting skills, the return of the classic Helloween sound and songs such as Where the Rain Grows, and The Game Is On, and the seeming rejuvenation of Weikath and Grapow seemed to strike a chord with the fans. With this new lineup and a new record contract with Castle Communications, Helloween released its comeback album, Master of the Rings. In 1995, original drummer Ingo Schwichtenberg committed suicide by jumping in front of a train in his native Hamburg. In the years since his departure from Helloween, Schwichtenberg had gotten involved in drug use and suffered from depression. Dedicated to his memory, 1996 is the time of the oath re-established the band as one of the most popular European metal bands. Following another world tour, a double live album called High Live was released. In 1998, Helloween released Better Than Raw, one of the band's heaviest albums since the full-length debut. The subsequent supporting tour was made up of stops in Europe, Japan, and Brazil, but on December 20, 1998, the band visited New York and played a show at the venue Coney Island High in Manhattan, the first show for Helloween in the United States in nearly a decade. The band would follow Better Than Raw with a 1999 release titled Metal Jukebox, a cover album featuring Helloween's versions of songs from such bands as Scorpions, Jethro Tull, Faith No More, The Beatles, ABBA, and Deep Purple. Some lineup changes. The year 2000 saw the release of The Dark Ride, a more experimental and darker album than their previous releases. It came complete with down-tuned guitars and a gruffer singing style from Deris. Immediately following the tour, Helloween parted ways with guitarist Roland Grapow and drummer Weikath. One version of events states that Weikath, Deris, and Grosskopf felt that Kush and Grapow, in particular, were spending more time on and paying more attention to their new side project, Master Plan. Since the others believed that Kush and Grapow were not 100% dedicated to Helloween, they were dismissed. They were replaced by guitarist Sascha Gerstner and drummer Markus Grosskopf, culminating with the recording of another studio album, titled Rabbit Don't Come Easy, in 2003. Later in 2012, on an interview with Metal Shock Finland's chief editor, Musan Fayazi, Roland stated, Gross could not finish the album due to mononucleosis, completing only 2 tracks. The drum tracks were completed by Motor Paragraph Red's Mickey D. Stefan Schwarzman, former drummer of Running Wild and Accept, would shortly thereafter take over the drumming duties. Despite a somewhat tepid response to the album, Helloween nonetheless completed a successful world tour, highlighted by the return of classic songs such as Starlight, Murderer, Keeper of the Seven Keys, and How Many Tears to the setlist. Additionally, the band toured the United States for the first time since 1989, playing to sold-out crowds at nearly every venue. Current lineup: Gambling with the Devil, Seven Sinners and Straight Out of Hell. 2005 saw yet another lineup change, following the Rabbits on the Run tour, as it became apparent that Helloween and Stefan Schwarzman did not share the same musical vision. As further noted by the band, he had some trouble performing fast drum parts, so he was replaced by Daniel Löble, the former drummer of German metal band Riot Regs. A change in record company also followed as they inked a deal with German label SPV. Any fears that what had now become a revolving door of band members would affect the quality of their new album were laid to rest as Helloween's new studio album, titled Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy, was released on October 28, 2005 in Germany, and November 8 in the USA to commercial and critical acclaim. The album had a pre-release single, Mrs. God, as well as a video for the track. The track Light the Universe was released as a single on November 22, featuring Candice Night of Blackmore's Night on guest vocals. She also appears in the video clip for the track. In late 2006, Helloween filmed and recorded shows in Sao Paulo, Sofia, and Tokyo for their live album Keeper of the Seven Keys The Legacy World Tour 2005-2006. The DVD also featured extra footage of the band, as well as interviews and a road movie. This is the second Helloween live album to feature Andi Deris as frontman, and third overall. It enjoyed chart success in several countries, Germany 9 and 58, Sweden 9, France 10. Helloween has since completed their studio album Gambling with the Devil, which was released on October 23, 2007. It received many positive reviews, with most fans praising the album as being one of the best Deris-era albums. Despite being one of Helloween's heaviest albums, it is noted for featuring more keyboards. As Long as I Fall, the first single, was released in early September and only available via download. The video for the song is available at their official site. Helloween teamed up with Kai Hansen's current band Gamma Ray for their 2007 Euro 2008 Hellish Rock World Tour, which started in early November 2007. Helloween were headlining and Gamma Ray were labeled as the very special guest, with most shows also having fellow German guests. The tour went through Europe, Asia, and South America, as well as a few dates in the US. The tour is notable for Kai Hansen stepping on stage with his former band fellows Weikath and Grosskopf to perform hits I Want Out and Future World in the last encore segment of Helloween. On December 26, 2009, Helloween released the Andi Deris Best of 25th Anniversary album in Japan. The album was released on February 1, 2010 in Europe. The album is a compilation of 10 of the band's best-known songs, re-recorded in different musical styles than the original recordings and by the current lineup. It features a 17-minute Keepers medley, recorded by a 70-piece orchestra from Prague, mixing together Helloween, The Keeper of the Seven Keys, and The King for a 1000 Years. There is a limited edition digipack, including a 30-minute making of DVD with interviews and studio footage. The band's website states that the album was released on April 13, 2010 in North America via Sony and the End Records labels. On May 14, 2010, it was announced on their site that they were working on a new studio album, which would be their fastest and heaviest effort in years. Helloween released their 13th studio album, Seven Sinners, on October 31 in Europe and November 3 in the US. Before its physical release, the band made it available worldwide for streaming via their MySpace page. The name of the album alludes to the seven deadly sins. According to Andi Deris, the album goes straight to the point. After an acoustic album, we needed definitely something that shows the people without any question that this is a metal album. The band toured to promote the new album with Stratovarius and Pink Cream 69 as their guests. On April 5, 2011, via the band's website, it was announced that Seven Sinners was awarded gold status in the Czech Republic. In June 2012, Helloween entered the studio to begin recording their 14th album, Straight Out of Hell, which was released on January 18, 2013 and is on tour around the world, with Gamma Ray again. Rock in Rio and 15th album. In September, Helloween played at Rock in Rio 2013, with former member Kai Hansen as a special guest. In October 2014, the band announced a new album for a May 2015 release. It'll be produced by Charlie Baufi and Ignacio Ueno Studio on Tenerife and will mark their return to label Nuclear Blast, with which they had released The Dark Ride and Rabbit Don't Come Easy. Members. Timeline. Discography. Studio albums: Walls of Jericho, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2, Pink Bubbles Go Ape, Chameleon, Master of the Rings, The Time of the Oath, Better Than Raw, The Dark Ride, Rabbit Don't Come Easy, Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy, Gambling with the Devil, Seven Sinners, Straight Out of Hell, EPs, Helloween Mr. Ego, Find My Freedom, Burning Sun, VHS DVD, The Pumpkin Video, High Live, The Pumpkin Video, Hellish Videos, Keeper of the Seven Keys The Legacy World Tour 2005/2006, compilations. Pumpkin Tracks, The Best, The Rest, The Rare, Karaoke Remix Volume 1, Karaoke Remix Volume 2, Metal Jukebox, Treasure Chest, Andi Deris Best of 25th Anniversary, Live Albums, Live in the UK, High Live, Keeper of the Seven Keys The Legacy World Tour 2005/2006, references. External links, official website.